All right, thanks for stopping in. Today I wanted to, get into this film Him, right? This is the movie Him. If you're familiar with it, um, if you haven't seen it yet, this is going to be all about spoiler alert, right? I'm going to really get into like the details of this movie. And first of all, you know, I initially got had interest in this movie because I knew it had some mythological themes in there, some stuff I wanted to work off of, like that was already in the movie. So I thought it was a good fit. And then before it came out, I started hearing some reviews about it that talked about, basically this is a really bad movie, right? And some I know Marlon Wayans has been out, promoting the film and doing some interviews, and there was a little bit of some controversy even within that. But I really wanted to look at the film, and again, like very rarely am I going into it thinking that this is a train wreck, and I'm just going to watch this train wreck. But so I kind of excuse that to say, let me sit down and watch this film and give it a chance, only because it had mythology in it, not because there was anything special about it that I saw in the film. So, but let's kick it off. So I got into it, and it turned out to really be as bad as I thought it would be. But there's a lot you can learn. And this is important, So at first I want to talk about the central character. I think his name is Cam. And this is young Cam that we're seeing on screen, live and direct right here, right? And this will be formative. You see him and you see his hero, who is Marlon Wayne's character in the background. So this is a formative scene for him. You see he's surrounded by his team of saviors. And so this film does get a lot into like how we actually see football. That it is more of this mythology, that it's a religion. So this will be the undercurrent of the film. It does really carry forth that football has morphed into this absolute religion. So we get a lot of that right here. This is young Cam, and everything about and this is Marlon Wayans' character, that is his hero. So right off the bat, you can see he is called literally the greatest quarterback of all time. Is what his character is called, right? So there's a lot already baked into the mythology. And you can see it right off the bat. So they're doing a good job of kind of building the mythos. Is the who are the characters? I want to get all the characters in line so I can take my time. So there's only me in here, right? So already, and here's what I'll say. Like I was gonna, I got off the bat in saying that this is Isaiah White, who's the mythic hero, the mythic GOAT, the best quarterback of all time. Had the storybook career, and so this is a very important thing, that obviously the team is the saviors as well. So you're getting a lot right in this of the mythology that they're going, that this is religion, and that's really what they're going. So you see this very impactful moment for young Cameron Cade, who is watching, and absorbing everything. His dad's supporting him, his mom's in it. So you just see again the symbols all the way around. So you see they're really pushing the idea of the symbolism, the emotion, all tied together, and that this is ritual for a pretty decent group of Americans. That's how he sees it. You can see the intensity on his face. So I'm really going to focus on saying this is a very formative part. Like the early intro into the Saviors becomes paramount. It's going to define in a lot of ways who he is. And you can see all the family camaraderie, all the energy. This is what's important. They're hugging, they're joyous. So you can imagine how this young kid starts to see this as, this whole family thing. Then his star gets hurt. The big guy gets hurt. So this is impactful in his way. And they're saying at this point, this is a career in an injury. This is what they're saying about this injury that, Isaiah White takes. So he's seen every single part of it. I mean, look at his bones literally sticking out of his leg. And again, that check with your hero, your favorite hero of all time. And so this is all very impactful. So little Kate, he's just absorbing the stuff, right? He's just getting, it's all impact. And then again, you see this is where his father comes in and kind of reassures him. And again, I gotta move myself up. Okay. You see that. This is important. His father's talking him through this. You see that, right? That's what real men do, right? So again, they make sacrifices. So this is being burned into his head during his most formative years, no guts, no glory is what you're already seeing. You see how much joy he brings. So this has got to be a very profound moment for any kid to have that much impact. You love your dad, you love your mom, and his dad, spoiler alert, his dad will get taken away from him. And you see, like, none of this stuff is by accident. Again, I'm saying that overall this was not a good film, and I'm going to explain why it goes awry. But I think this was a moment where they started off setting up the film the way that you would want it, that you really would want this look to be, right? This is how you set up the backstory of a character. This is the best backstory setup I've seen, because we're getting all this emotion. Some of us have probably been we have at least been around like a football family at the time of a big game. And immediately after it, he throws the pads on him. I don't know if that's his dad or that's an uncle, but you're the next Isaiah. And you see that. I'm going to guess that this kid might be like 6 years old, 7 years old, and you see Isaiah, I'm coming, I'm coming. That is super impactful because it really digs into like the psychology of what it means to actually be a football fan, or how they get, kind of inoculated into the culture. So he's absorbing every single bit of it. It becomes a chant. Isaiah, I'm coming. He's very enthused. He's being, and all this while he's just watched this catastrophic, potentially career-ending injury. Probably like, how bad is it? Your bone sticking out? I mean, like, this is as real as it gets. But this is like a very important moment for him, for young Kate, because now they're mixing. It's love. Let's go, boy. Yeah, that's it. I'm him. So he's already started saviors. Again, even when you look at and it's mimicking some things in the NFL in terms of how teams name themselves, how they market themselves, that they are really all about the idea of this conquest, right? They're kind of getting some old imperialist themes and kind of shining for it. But in terms of, now again, keep in mind that I actually don't think this is a good movie, and I think it's going to stumble in a lot of places, and I just wanted to kind of get into what I do see that's great. And first of all, like, the guys who are doing the visuals on this film, excellent job. And even the young man who plays Cameron or Cam, I think he's a decent actor. Like, I wouldn't want this the weight of this film's failure to carry over onto a young actor who I think probably does have some promise. Guy seem like he's pretty aware on screen. Think he's got the look to be a good Hollywood star. So, I don't want to put all the weight on, but I do think the film started off as a great concept, and we can kind of see where they're going. And they really capture some elements. So let's kind of finish out this part of it, just to get this intro to camera. And again, it's all the applause. And then now it fast forwards, like, this is probably 10 years later, and his hero is back. So this is where the story starts to get more interesting, because you have this like very impactful moment that has meant so much to him, and you see he's still here. So the story is ultimately about this dude's won 8 championships, right? After this, he's built dynasty. So you see, how quickly he recovers, and we'll get into what his routine is pretty quickly, right? Because this is where the setup that they have is that these two characters are intersecting, because one is he is on his way out. Isaiah is on his way out, and he wants to kind of name his successor. He wants to pick the guy who's going to come in and take over for him, right? For his franchise. So this is a big moment here. I want to get into this other quick scene here at the 12-minute mark, where I got pretty granular with this. See if I can find it. So I'll pick it up right here. Okay, come on. Okay, so this guy, what we need to remember with Cade is that he ultimately sustains his injury, because the injury part will be a significant part of it, right? He sustains his injury, I believe, like in a fight or a car accident. I'm not sure, but he's going into it like highly touted as being the next quarterback of the future. And so you can kind of see like what they do, symbolizing him is this isolation that he's starting to feel. This exterior where, he is like kind of tunneling his vision. And it's a really, really good scene in the sense that it really brings up. But it gets, like I said, it gets a little weird, right? This is a great example of how this film kind of gets a little weird. You can see he's kind of like reacting to a fan, right? This is where, this is another one of those moments where it gets into like, this is more than just sports for a lot of these people in a lot of ways. And that's what we're seeing this right here. This idea of this guy, like you're in a dark tunnel and this guy comes up to you. And NFL fans, this is what they think of you. This is kind of how they're, kind of rolling it out, that you're the NFL and all he wants is your autograph. He wants your sign it on his face, sign it on his body part, right? And again, it's got this hip hop kind of theme that's going on. And he signs for him. He's visibly very shook by it. We can see it in his eyes that he is not comfortable. He's probably scared at this moment. But this has a lot of weight in terms of just like, where this movie's coming from and kind of what angles they're going to give you, right? So we get this part. And he's going to go through his crucible where, he has to have this surgery because of this, this brain pressure. But what they're really worrying about is how this is going to affect his NFL prospects, right? This starts to become, some things between him and his families, right? And then he gets this call where this is the life-changing moment for him. He gets this call where, you have the opportunity to show people that you still got it. This is where he gets a call from his man, right? Why me, right? Between you and me. And he breaks it down. So on the other thing, this is Cade. He's giving him the whole scenario. And this is after, so this guy's going into it with some real issues because of his health, right? So this is him wrestling. So he has this moment right before this where he has to make this decision for his family. His draft status is already tanked. He was going to go to the draft, but he was already, he already had this sustained injury. So this is a chance to come back for him. So he definitely doesn't want to blow this. And that's the thing. You're getting a call from the GOAT who's looking at you for the team that he's currently playing for to be his replacement. So a lot of just, a lot of stuff floating at this kid right now. Let me get to the 35-second mark here. Because so obviously I wanted to get to this party really quickly. If you decide to watch this film, which I still suggest. So he gets to meet his guy. Let's take back just a little bit, right? There's the actual meeting. So he comes to his home. And you can kind of see, and right off the bat, let's see, once he gets to his home, you got to see where he lives at, right? This matters. So this is a great moment here because it gets back into the fandom, and we're going to talk about this. So he gets the call, he's celebrating it, he's going to go work out with him, he's driving all the way to, he's got this isolated, so again, the sense of isolation that he gets before. And this will be pivotal in looking at the fans again. So he's driving all this way out. Different environment for him, and he's a little bit, got some nervousness going on about him. But I want to get to this part here so we can really kind of talk about it. So now he's there, and the fandom is outside of Isaiah's house. You see the deity. That's an important moment right there. You see it right there. Deity. These are the fans camped outside of Isaiah's house. Deity signs. So again, they're staying on the myth of connecting the story to modern gods. And we see athletes in the same way that we saw the ancient deities. And I don't know if that's true. It leaves a lot to be really questioned. But another pivotal part is right about here. You can see, again, because he's in this, we're going to replace you mindset, or that's what they're saying. You're going to be the drafted. We got our career quarterback in here. We don't want him going anywhere. But you can see what it gets. And she's rabid. This is rabbit. We don't want you, right? We don't want. Look how ugly this woman's face is. And she would surface again later. I mean, this is really, really way out there. And see this. So already you're getting a big taste of what you're walking into, and it's not looking good. So, but there's so much in there in terms of like, we're looking at this writing a modern myth of how they look at fandom. And you can see from some levels, this film does a pretty good job, especially early on. I feel like it loses its base a little bit as we go further, and we have to accept more of the ritual part of it. You kind of have to believe this ritual of it yourself in order to make the film fully work, right? But whatever, he's on his way. The police have to be there for safety purposes, right? And he's like, what the hell is going on here?